Have you ever wondered what goes into a piece of responsible packaging? When it carries the PEFC label, it can contain a lot more than your products. Responsible packaging is renewable. That means if even one tree was cut down to create that packaging, it was done so from a sustainably managed forest or other controlled source. This protects forest species and ecosystems, incentivizes foresters to operate legally and sustainably, and supports forest regeneration, which reduces soil erosion and helps to combat climate change. Responsible packaging is sourced responsibly, with safe working conditions and fair labor practices, not just for foresters, but at every step along the way before it gets to you. It also means traceability. PEFC requires traders and manufacturers to go through third-party audits, demonstrating that certified materials really did originate from a sustainable source. Responsible packaging can be recycled. Recycling is an important part of any sustainability strategy, and the PEFC recycled label helps meet market demands while reducing pressure on forests. So what can you do to join brands like Circle K, Heinz, and Dunkin' Donuts and make your packaging more responsible? Start by reaching out to PEFC. We can connect you to suppliers of certified packaging. Add flexibility to your certified supply chain by including PEFC in your procurement plan. Use our label on your certified boxes and bags, making sure your packaging contains a whole lot more.
Welcome. Welcome to the PEFC webinar. It's great. We still have people coming in, and we're going to start now. So I hope you have enjoyed this short video. Welcome to the PEFC webinar about enhancing brand values and forest sustainability. Thank you for taking the time to join us for what will be an insightful and informative one-hour webinar. A couple of instructions before we start. For our attendees that are francophone, you have the possibility to go on to the French channel and have simultaneous translation from English to French. And for that, you will see at the bottom of your screen an icon where you can choose translation. So you can go into this translator channel and select the French channel. Second point, you are invited to drop in the Q&A, again, that you can see at the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A function, a Q&A app. I invite you to drop your questions as we go along, and then we will pick them up in the last quarter of an hour to answer your questions. And if we can't answer all of them, we will answer them afterwards. If you have a questions that you want to directly direct to one of the speakers, then please name them in front of your question. Okay, so I'm really delighted to have a special guest today in terms of three speakers who have international scope of work. I would like to welcome Michel Fontaine, President or Chairman of the French Packaging Council. I also would like to welcome Anna Cole, Executive Director, Strategy EMA at London Fitch. And also welcome to Agnieszka Imzorowicz, Head of Marketing and Supply Chain Quality Assurance at KFC Austria and Slovakia. I am Fabienne Sinclair. I will be your host for today. I will moderate this session. I'm Head of Market Engagement at PEFC International. So before I hand over to our panelists, I would like to highlight a few things about PEFC, where we are at, and of course a little bit about EUDR as well, as it's such a hot topic. But before, I have a bit of a ritual My ritual is to start with the forest. It's where it all starts. The forest play a vital role to protect us now and also future generations. We depend on forest for our survival, for the air we breathe, for the water we drink, for the biodiversity that it hosts, the social support it gives to whether it's a community living within a forest, and also the workers around a forest. And of course, not forgetting the biggest natural carbon management machine that for the forest is, through the 3 S's. By the 3 S's, what I mean is the sequestration of carbon, the storage of carbon, and the substitution of carbon. And this is what forests do for us. And actually today we touch a little bit on substitution, even though we're not really going into this dimension, but this is substitution of some packaging that have higher CO2 footprint versus forest-based packaging. So moving on to PEFC, a few words. PEFC is an NGO that is global NGO, and we work towards the forest values for the planet and humans. The program for the endorsement of forest certification. We are an NGO, and we have been driving forest stewardships for the last 24 years, nearly 25 years. We strive to balance social, environmental, and economic dimensions of sustainability. Those 3 pillars are critical to stop deforestation and enhance and regenerate forests. We also strive to inspire and help people, companies, and communities to reach their sustainability goals. That is through responsible sourcing, but also all the work that is happening through our requirements of our sustainable forest management standard, and also the chain of custody standard that I'll come back to. And a lot of these requirements are also playing into some of the ESG requirements. Where are we today? PEFC is the largest forest certification system in terms of hectares. Today, we represent 291 million hectares that are PEFC certified, and that represents 71% of total certified forests at global level. This amount of certified forest is coming through 48 endorsed national systems that will implement the PEFC international standard, and with the addition of their national specificities. The traceability past the forest gate is achieved through 22,000 chain of custody certified companies in 70 countries. So the good work that is happening in forest can then be transferred through your supply chain, so that as a retailer or brand owner, you can make the end claim of using X amount of PEFC certified material. And simply put, otherwise we probably need 2 days to go through a sustainable forest management standard and a chain of custody standard. But simply put, what does it mean? It's really about the work that is done in the forest in as far as providing now and for future generation healthy forest ecosystems. This means no deforestation, protection and enhancement of biodiversity, and carbon storage. Healthy workers in terms of their rights, in terms of their training, in terms of their wages, and so on and so forth. Healthy communities in terms of the respect through FPIC of indigenous people's rights. and of course that also healthy local economy in terms of increasing livelihood, providing jobs and incomes. If a forest does not have a value, it will be converted to another commodity. And this work is then transferred to the supply chain, and through each of the steps of manufacturing or processing, to ensure the traceability of either that the material originate from a sustainably managed forest, but also ensuring that it meets all the legal requirements of a given country and of inter-regional legal requirements, legislations. It also invites for independent audit of the manufacturing that is happening, of the traceability of the certified material, whether from an SFM or whether through control sources, with a real detailed due diligence system, also called DDS, and also through covering some key elements on and key requirements on health, safety and labor issues. So this is really simply put the two core elements of forest certification. And all of this being in place, then as an end user, meaning as a brand owner or as a retailer, you can use the PEFC logo on your products or on your website or on your annual sustainability reports. Strictly speaking, it means you have, for the on-product use, the choice between two labels, the PEFC certified label and the PEFC recycled label. For the off-product use, your website, your sustainability report, your in-store materials, you can use what we call the off-product label. And actually here, this is just the core one, but we also offer a variation of messages for you to choose from. Now, a little bit about EUDR. As I mentioned earlier on, this is really a good opportunity to actually talk about EUDR. And here we go. So overall, PEFC wants to align with the PEFC requirement of the EUDR to ensure that as brand and retailers, we provide you with the evidence of compliance to the legislation. So already, PEFC International standards address quite a few of the core elements, meaning the anti-deforestation regulation and requirements, in fact, that are already in our standards and have been in our standards since 1999, so since for 24 years already. There's also the requirements of protecting climate, as well as protecting sustainable livelihoods, and already an alignment with the current EUTR in terms of timber regulation. So what does it mean, first of all, for the roadmap that we have in place to enable this alignment by January 2025? So as far as the roadmap, we are currently already a member of the EU Commission expert platform. We have completed our gap assessment. We have now developed and are recruiting for the deliberation of through the PEFC experts group, whether it's a sustainable forest management group or a chain of custody group, to really convince stakeholders rapidly to make decisions on how we adapt our standards to align to the EUDR. We are also developing solutions according to our standard setting procedures. We have very strict procedures. Typically, it takes us up to 2 years to do a standard revision. We know we don't have that time, and therefore we have a fast-track approach that has been approved by our members. We also have consideration to deliver practical and cost-efficient solutions to support certificate holders. Of course, we are mindful of the EUDR expectations, even though all the practicalities from the Commission, as you understand, are not clear yet. We are also moving in parallel and also making some assumptions of how it should work and how it could work. And we are also raising awareness through an engagement plan. Soon we're going to launch our landing page on our website with an FAQ and several ways of keeping you informed of how PEFC is advancing. Clearly, there are three core areas under specific deliberation. The first one is about deforestation-free extended definitions. So this required some of our definitions to be adapted. The second one is about DDS methodology. Those two should be fairly easy to adapt. And clearly the third one, geolocation and data transfer, is the complex one. And we will need a lot of collaboration to make it happen. But again, we are committed to achieving alignment with the EUDR through standard adjustment. So that was that, and now I would like to go back to our topic of today in terms of responsible sourcing. And we put it very simply for what it means to the packaging in terms of the 3R, meaning the renewable aspect of forest. So you are sourcing a material that will that comes from a renewable source. That's through our SFM standard. You are responsibly sourcing that raw material through a chain of custody standard. And also, often it is forgotten or not known that PEFC holds a PEFC recycle label. So now I would like to invite Michel Fontaine. Michel is chair of the French Packaging Council, CNE. Michel has a rich 38 years legacy of head of packaging and product development, and used to work for a very global organization. Michel, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Fabienne. Thank you very much. I try to catch my screen. Oops.
Perfect.
Good. I will start by this one. Who are we? In fact, CNE is a NGO as a PEFC. It's a French NGO, non-profit organization. And the purpose of this organization is to go over all the value chain of the packaging, and with a claim which is to find the good packaging, the juste packaging in French. By the way, I'm sorry for my typical French accent. I hope it will work for everyone. Back now to the previous slide. Yes. Okay. You may find all the information on a website. You have the address of the website. It is in French, obviously, but also in English. So on the site, you have all the documentation, which is free. Our purpose, you will see after. Our purpose is not to ask people to pay for doing a good packaging. We want to give freely everything we are doing and we are thinking about. You have also on the right, you can see that we are doing a contest every year, which is called Emballé 5.0. It's a free contest for students, for the one studying packaging in the French and French-speaking schools over Europe. So now back to the presentation, our missions, very simple missions. You have them all, but the more important on the left, the first mission is really to create and publish best practices in the conception, in the use, in the sale, in all the chain, the value chain. We want to address and to create and publish all topics. You will see after the last documentation we did. We are also proactive to build a responsible policy, and it's probably why PEFC France is an active member of CNE, and we are very proud to have PEFC as a member. And I will go. You can see the documents we did in the last years. The last one is emptiness. You know, you have seen in the papers a lot of questions about the fact that when you are packing a product and when we are taking this product from the production to the end user, we have a lot of emptiness in the packaging and on the pallets, and we did some documentation on that. We did also the most important for us is to have facts and figures on the environmental aspect of packaging, so you will be able to see that on our site. I will not go through all documents. I will now try to answer some questions and to respond to the demand of PEFC. First of all, you know that we are in a kind of war with CO2, and the idea is to have less CO2 in the air in the following years. So the first question is, do you know the average impact of packaging on the CO2 footprint of a consumer good? It's obviously you may have a lot of differences between all the goods, but in average, it has been calculated in Great Britain, in France, and in some other countries. The answer is 8%. And what is the reason I am putting this figure in front of you is the fact that you have to keep in mind that the packaging itself is providing a very little part of the CO2 footprint in the consumption of goods. 8% for the packaging means that 92% is the product itself. So it's this figure invites you to be very careful about the way you are claiming what you do on the packaging, because at the end, if you save, I would say, 20% on the packaging footprint, 20% of 8%, it's just the thickness of the line. Okay, so be careful to keep that in mind. The second message I want to push is the fact that sustainability is a concept. I think the first time this concept was raised was in '87, and the CNE started in '97 at a time where the concept was really working well and everyone was knowing what we were talking about. sustainability is not for the CNE something which must be a competitive advantage. And probably I will not be completely aligned with the two ladies following me in a moment. But for me, the packaging sustainability, it's a must. It's not something you can give to the consumer if you wish. It's a must, you must have, because your brand reputation is at risk if you don't do that. It's really like when you are building a house, you need to have a strong foundation to build the house, and sustainability is part of the foundation for any product. Next, if the system allows me to go next. Yeah. Among the documentation we did in CNE, you will be able to see that we have been working a lot on what we call environmental claims. And because it's really important, consumer is part of the value chain, and consumer must be respected. By the way, in France, it is by law. We must be careful on what we say on the product by law. And for us, it's very important to pay attention. Again, if I can do something in my chart. Sorry. Can you click to yes, again. So you have all the attributes we want to be clear when you do an environmental claim, to be sincere, objective, complete, and proven by documentation. Okay, so next. I'm sorry not to have them. Okay. So what we feel at the CNE level is the fact that when you use raw material, and typically today the paper or the cardboard, it is not really relevant to compare and to say, oh, my material is not like plastic coming from fossil oil, or it is consuming less energy than glass or whatever. We think that when a company is using a packaging, it's for various reasons, and these reasons are mainly related with the product which is inside. So it's not easy, to say that this one can be a substitution for this one, because you have to take care of the product inside the packaging. So we don't feel comfortable with this kind of comparison. And by the way, when a company has, I would say, 60% of his portfolio of product having, for example, plastic, and if for 5% of them they say, I will replace that because plastic is really bullshit, we don't want to use plastic anymore. What could be the consumer reaction, seeing that the 55 rest of their product is still having plastic because they need plastic? So the fact to say that take my product because it is not like others, we much prefer. The next slide, please. We very much prefer the fact to highlight the qualities of your raw material, because paper and cardboard, all this family has fantastic qualities which must be highlighted in your communication. It is recyclable, it uses recycled material, renewable. You have seen what Fabienne said. It is certified, and that's the key element, because when you are certified, you can be stronger with the consumer, and with a reasonable low CO2 impact. So more or less, that was the message I wanted to pass to you. And obviously, I will be completely available for any question.
Thank you very much, Michel. So I had forgotten actually that, yes, the sustainability concept started or was sketched out in 1987. It's a long time ago, and yet we are not there yet. So I would tend to agree with you vis-a-vis sustainability must be business as usual. That's great. Now I would like to invite Anna Cole to speak. And Anna is an executive director, as I mentioned earlier on, executive director strategy, EMEA Lender and Fitch, as part of the WPP group. A strategy is dedicated to transformative brand design, bridging Landlord's brand consulting with Fitch retail consulting and consultancy. Anna, explain to us a little more of your finding and insights, please.
Absolutely. So I will be talking to Michel's point. I don't disagree actually with Michel. I do think that it should be a must for reputation. But I will talk a bit more about how you can actually switch it from just being a cost or a change that's hard for you into something that can actually drive difference for a brand. And when you start to drive difference, you actually start to grow, right? And to have a stronger brand and therefore have short-term and long-term growth. So I'll talk a bit more about that. And my screen doesn't seem to move. Oh, yes, now it is. Okay. I call this Sustainable Packaging Unpacked because there's many, many things that we could talk about. But really what I'll focus on today is how we can make your pack not only good for the planet and people, but also for your business. So, oh, now it's going too fast, sorry. So we live in the decade of decision and action on sustainability, right? We all know this. And what's interesting though is that packaging, actually, when you look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, touches a lot of them when we think about that. And the other thing that's certainly true is that plastic and over packaging, as it became very current in the 80s, because plastic wasn't that much of a big packaging material before the 80s, actually has a short shelf life when it comes to consumers, because consumers and regulators both ask for it, but also a lot of new brands have shown consumers that a different path is possible. So there's no excuse. It almost all started with this, right? It was this National Geographic cover where we all understood that many, many things that we use in our daily lives have a very short usage, but a very long time and very long impact on our environment and on the health of our planet. And that has really led, when it comes to packaging, but also to plastic waste in general, to a real shift in consumers' awareness and mindsets. When you now look at the latest Who Cares Who Does numbers from Kantar, which always every year really go and understand what consumers think and want when it comes to sustainability, you can see that plastic-free packaging is ranking very high in the list of what consumers now expect from brands to live up to actually be recognized or being seen as having a responsible reputation, right? So a lot of consumers, almost more than 65% really feel that it's very important. So it's really important. And by the way, that's not something that's Europe-centric. That's something that's worldwide. And we see that even in countries like in Asia, where they start to see really plastic pollution in their daily lives, much more in the sea or on the side of the road, the numbers are even higher. So this is not a Europe phenomenon. This is really a worldwide phenomenon. And when we then see what consumers would like companies to do, right, they are actually asking for such quite simple solutions, right? And so recycled, packaging that's biodegradable. Well, that's paper is already in there, packaged in other material than plastic. Again, paper and carton plays a good role there, but then also lighter weight packaging. So many things that actually carton and paper can start to answer. But, and there is a but in there, there is a risk for brands to just jump onto those trains of pulp packages, etc., because if they don't do it right, they're actually going to lose differentiation and brand strengths. I took this, I'm not even sure it's real, right? I took this off the internet. It's just an illustrative image to say, if everybody starts to use the same pulp bottle as of tomorrow, then the brand strengths and the differentiation of the brand will be greatly diminished. That said, there is ways to do this much better. And me, it's not about saying you shouldn't do that because you won't differentiate. It's more about saying you should do this in a very differentiated way. Because whilst it's great that we all share those efforts, right? That we're all coming finally together to try to save what's left of our planet, there is also a lot that's done by companies that leads to what we call a green sea of sameness, right? Everybody's making the same claims, everybody's doing it in the same way, and therefore you diminish actually the value for consumer because they're like, yeah, it's table stakes, right? So what you need to do now is actually do those things, but do them in your own way, do them in a differentiated way, so that you're getting return on investment, that you're getting recognition, and that you're building brand strengths. And when you do that, then you can actually have what the UN was envisioning. You can actually do good for the planet, for the people, but also for your profit. And profit, if you don't do that, is the forgotten P. And your move to good actually becomes an investment and not something that can drive ROI. So let's look at what are opportunities to actually make packs truly good for planet, people, and your business. The way you will go after the third forgotten P is by adding difference to relevance. Relevance is clearly established, right? Those are the numbers I've showed you in the beginning. It's clear that paper and carton packaging is relevant to people. It answers some of their biggest environmental concerns. I'm not saying it's the biggest environmental concerns for the planet. I hear Michel when he says it's 8%, but I'm talking about consumer perception, right? But the way you need to do it is different. Only by doing that, you're going to grow your brand stronger. And when your brand is stronger, has increased relevance and difference, you're going to grow, not just in the short term, but also in the long term. So a couple of examples that I thought were interesting. So a non-plastic pack can actually be a differentiator in certain categories. So look at boxed water, right? They have built a whole brand on a different packaging material in a category that was all about PET bottles, right? It can also really start to create forms and things that become iconic assets for your brand. Look at Toblerone, right? We're in Switzerland here, so Toblerone is one of our icons. Now Toblerone is not produced in Switzerland wholeheartedly anymore, so they can't use the Matterhorn anymore. They can't use the iconic mountain that they had on the pack anymore as one of their brand assets. Well, they just replaced it by their packaging shape that everybody knows is that amazing triangular carton box, right? So it can really help you to establish difference, to establish something that's unique to you. It can also help you break the shelf and create appetite appeal differently. Look at Heinz, right? Heinz, we all know the bottle, right? We all associate that color of the ketchup to the brand, and the color of the ketchup and all of that gives us, we know exactly how that's going to taste. Well, they're not shying away from the challenge. They're actually taking that challenge on and creating something very disruptive for those who work in packaging and know how important stop is on a supermarket shelf. We know that that's going to break a shelf, right? That's going to be very, very disruptive. Also very much Heinz, right? Very brand-led. It says, we are ketchup. Ketchup is made of tomatoes, right? They're playing their big brand story in a very unique way that will certainly drive good things for them. You can also use this switch and change to actually create different relationships with your consumers. And you can even do that by including that consumer on the journey. It's not always just about claims, right? And how much better that packaging is. For example, I love this this sportwear brand. It's called Prana, and they actually moved from big cartons to thin paper envelopes when they're sending their clothes to consumers. And they're saying, look, this is a test. If this comes to you ripped, then please tell us, and we will clean your clothes, or we will make it good. But we're also learning so that we can really do better for you. Or look at what Nike Air did, was actually using AR to show their journey, to share their journey with their consumer in a gamified way, so that the consumer could actually start to become part of that journey. So there's not just the carton box, there's also the whole story of the carton box, everything that carton box actually changes in the world, and the consumer can be part of it. So again, a very differentiating way of doing it, instead of just putting a claim. This is one on the left, is one of my preferred things I saw in Cannes last year. It's called the Killer Pack. It sounds pretty brutal, but it's actually a really differentiating approach to combating mosquitoes. So this is for countries where mosquitoes are a real plague, but also a real health hazard, because they actually give illnesses to people by stinging them. What this brand, they sell mosquito incense kind of rolls like this. What they found out is that fighting against mosquitoes in your house is one thing, but the real mosquito plague actually comes from the dumpsters, from the trash cans. That's where the larvae lives. That's where the mosquitoes were bred. So this carton pack is actually enriched with insecticides, so that they kill the larvae in the trash bin, and therefore combat mosquitoes on 2 levels. They really helped in certain countries, I think it was India and another country, to limit the mosquito plague that they had with a really smart and differentiated usage of a carton pack. The other one on the right is one of our cases. We work with Dell Technologies, and every time when there is the big tech event in Las Vegas, Las Vegas, every tech brand on the planet sends out loads of goodies to tech journalists. We didn't want to do that. We actually wanted to drive a different point of view on tech waste. So we created this empty carton box, send it to the journalists, and ask them to put their electronic waste into it and send it back. So a very disrupted and differentiated way, again, of using a packaging, instead of enclosing something that you give to people, actually using it to get something back. So again, really a point of difference and a great storyteller. You can also use the switch to a new material to rethink your packaging from the ground up, and to make it accessible to all. We know that 1 person out of 5 has disabilities that make it hard for people to engage with usual packaging. So here's an example, from PlayStation. They use their switch to actually put different handles on it and open it differently, so that people with dexterity challenges could get into the pack. P&G laundry brands did the same by creating this amazing, what they call the EcoClick box, which you can now open with one hand, very simply, still child safe and much better for the environment because made out of carton. So a great opportunity to create difference, to bring something to life that your brand stands for, and to rethink what you can give as value to consumers, how you can improve their experience. And if you do that, then we have no doubt that not only are you going to do better for planet and people, but you're also going to drive profit, because you are going to have a more differentiated, more reputable, but also more loved brand that people will engage with pleasure and over and over. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. So yes, sustainability is a must, but not at a cost. And you rightly pointed out the risk of lacking differentiation with opportunities for shared value creation. So I think plenty of room there. And I like how the example that you've pulled out, how you can still emphasize your brand positioning and brand identity on the packaging or create a different relationship with the consumer. Thank you very much, Anna. And I now would like to invite our third speaker, Agnieszka Imzirowicz, who is Head of Marketing and Supply Chain and Quality Assurance at Queensway, representing KFC Austria and Slovakia. Agnieszka is an experienced marketing leader with over 15 years experience in FMCG and luxury sectors, successfully managing and growing global brands. Over to you, Agnieszka.
Thank you very much, Fabienne, for the introduction. And hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today. And I'm happy to share a short overview about our end consumer collaboration, which we launched in the Austrian market to raise awareness for the PEFC seal, as well as sustainable choices that we are making. But first, let's share a few words about KFC. So I'm trying to take control over the screen. Oh yeah, works. Perfect. Excellent. So KFC, yeah, it's finger licking good. And when we look at KFC, sorry, still struggling. Yes. Then what we can say is that chicken is definitely our superpower. And we use this superpower to create crave for our end consumers by offering 3 distinctive recipes, which is hot and spicy, crispy, as well as the original recipe. So, 1 second. Exactly. And the distinctive taste is what makes our products really special, and they create an unforgettable taste sensation for our consumers. We offer these products, and I hope that some of you have already tried them, in a diversity of different combinations, from our famous hot wings bucket to wraps, as well as burgers and variety of different sides. So what else is important for our customers aside of incredible taste, convenient packaging, and pleasant restaurant experience? Well, when we make market research and we look at our consumer expectations, we see since several years already that there is a strong trend which can be described as health as well as sustainability trends. From one side, we're talking about a big interest in particular of the younger target groups in, for instance, plant-based meat, which is offering a new and modern choice, which is also more sustainable, but also in general, the topic of overall conscious choices that we make as a company, but also that customers make by themselves, are of growing importance. And what we see when we look at successful brands is that brands that are trusted, that they are acting respectfully to the environment, and have clear rules when working and committing in terms of their brand values, are much more successful than those where it's unknown what the values are. So when we look at the importance of sustainability, here it's particularly interesting that we see that in particular the food segment has a high interest or it has a high relevance in the era of sustainability. And this is really going across all different age groups of people. So this combined the interest in food as well as in sustainability was the particular link where we felt that we would like to launch a campaign together with PEFC highlighting our choices. Yeah. So under the campaign vision, sustainability is a choice. We work together with the local team to define an end consumer campaign where we wanted to highlight the origin of our packagings that we are sourcing, and also presenting and raising awareness for the PEFC seal and what it guarantees as a seal on our products. Yeah, so together with the team, we made a brainstorming, and as a key message, the anchor of the communication campaign was that forestry secures jobs, sustainable forest management secures the forest, and therefore we secure tomorrow's jobs and also tomorrow's forests together. We try to make this communication campaign in a very emotional, positive, and approachable way, and I think we found a really good link to the beginning of what we heard from Fabienne, to the forest and how it all starts there. Here you see some impressions when working on the campaign. And I will share the video in just a minute.
Heute verrate ich, warum ich mich freue, wenn ich auf so einer Verpackung wie von PEFC das PEFC-Siegel sehe. Ich bin der Andreas Steinecker, bin Land- und Forstwirt und ich schaue auf den Wald. Das kannst du auch mit dem PEFC-Siegel. Das PEFC-Siegel verrät mir, dass das Holz, das in den Karton drinnen ist, entlang der gesamten Wertschöpfungskette streng kontrolliert worden ist. Und so weiß ich, dass da mit Sicherheit Holz aus nachhaltiger Forstwirtschaft drinnen ist. Erst wird im Wald kontrolliert, ob die PEFC-Kriterien für nachhaltige Forstwirtschaft eingehalten werden. Dann wird der Baum an jeder seiner Stationen bis zum fertigen Paket kontrolliert, von der Ernte, vom Fällen, vom Umschneiden, über den bodenschonenden Abtransport bis hin zum Werk. Ein unabhängiger Kontrolleur kommt regelmäßig ins Werk und kontrolliert die Holzeinkäufe. Er stellt sicher, dass alle Bäume aus nachhaltiger Forstwirtschaft stammen. Und das PEFC-Siegel auf der Verpackung zeigt die Wertschöpfungskette für alle transparent und sichtbar. Nachhaltige Waldwirtschaft ist nur möglich, weil sich in Österreich so viele Menschen entlang der Wertschöpfungskette mit dem PEFC-Siegel für den Wald von morgen einsetzen. Dafür bin ich als Forstwirt und Konsument dankbar. So viel Wert steckt in Waldwirtschaft mit dem PEFC-Siegel.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope you liked the video and the communication campaign that was created. I think what it highlights is, in a very easy way, the transparency of the whole sustainability chain that is there, as well as it transports credibility, as well as, I think, sympathy for the PEFC seal. So it becomes really an approachable concept for the end consumer. And what we experienced when we launched the campaign in restaurants, so it was a 360-degree basically communication campaign, where the video you just saw was launched via YouTube and promoted across social media channels for over 1 month, targeting in primarily younger target groups of millennials. It was the core that we were focusing. But in addition to the communication campaign, we also included our restaurants in terms of sharing this information at our point of sale. So you just see a few examples here from menu boards, also the kiosk screen. We had stickers on our takeaway bags where you could actually scan the QR code and find out more about the PEFC seal. And when we observed the consumer reactions, they were all very positive. First of all, they were surprised about what the seal stands for, and that we are actually supporting with our packaging choices sustainable forestry. The perception was that we are actually being a trusted brand in this respect, and I think it helps us to build further, let's say, brand value in the market, as brand with these trusted choices definitely have a higher relevance for customers today, and also even more of growing importance for the future. We also accompanied the campaign with a PR statement that we issued together with the team of PEFC Austria. And also here, from also different sides of media, we generated quite positive response. And these are just a few examples from, let's say, the forestry category till advertising, as well as end consumer media, that titled like here, PEFC package for the future, or a sustainable forestry as a priority, which helped us to fulfill the goal that we try to create on the market for the seal, as well as for raising awareness what these quality controls and standards are meaning for our surrounding and for our daily lives. So thank you very much. That was it. I hope you enjoyed the short overview. And yeah, I think handing back to you, Fabienne.
Thank you, Agnieszka. This is a real example of walk the talk, in a way, from bringing your responsible sourcing strategy to life and really explaining it to consumers. We know certification is complex, and it's a complex mechanism. Even that word is technical to explain, but it's not about making it mainstream. It's about really explaining it in a simple way, in a visual way. And I like when you said bringing transparency, credibility, and sympathy as well, as you convey that story. So thank you very much, Agnieszka, and also a big thank you to PEFC Austria for helping on this campaign. So now I would like to, even though we are had such interesting messages from our speakers, I would like to do a quick check on the Q&A. We have a few questions, and actually we've been pretty good at answering those questions as we were already presenting. So let me check one more time what is in the chat. So yeah, and we will share the recording for sure. So there was a very specific question on wood pallets, and I have answered that. And of course, we can come back to, we will give you our email addresses in a moment, so you can also contact us for more of these questions. I've also answered the question about EUDR. So the roadmap is live with an aim goal to be aligned by the summer 2024 for our benchmark. And then there was a very specific questions on a product label use. So I hope I've answered this correctly through the chat. I would like just to ask our panel a question, because a lot of our certificate holders are certified to PEFC and strong actors in the supply chain, wherever they're at mid-level, converter, printer, and so on. And then we also aim to help end users and retailers to understand foreign certification. Do you think that there's enough collaboration happening between what the suppliers, the innovation that the suppliers are trying to create, to develop, and the brands, whether they are brand manufacturers or like some of the examples, Anna, you showed, or the retailers, to really make it happen, to really achieve that carbon emission reduction? Do you think there's enough collaboration happening?
It's hard to answer in a really kind of like general way, right? I think there could always be more collaboration, but I also understand that manufacturers also have to face their own kind of specificities and problems and supply chains and complexities. So I think collaboration is important when you want to solve a big problem. I think organizations like yours are pushing for, or like Michelle did today, are pushing to collaborate, to share information. I think that is important. And I'm seeing a lot of manufacturers actually do that. But I also think that some of the problems, when a lot of the problems might be quite specific sometimes to their supply chains or to their product portfolios or infrastructure. So yes and no, I would say. Yes.
Michelle, yes, please go ahead.
No, I just want to make a point. We are very conscious in Europe of what we need to do. Sometimes we are supplying product from other countries than Europe. I will not say any name, but the problem could arise from those kind of product. I'm sure that having worked with a lot of countries in Europe, that really now the consumer and the producers in Europe are very aware. Are we sure that what we source out of Europe is thinking the same way? That's the question.
I understand, but yeah, I understand your point, and I guess potentially EUDR will help that way. But a lot of multinationals source from all over the corners of the planet, and their rules, I imagine, their rules, whether KFC source from Europe or from South America, North America, the rules that they're.
I'm not really concerned by big companies, but you have not only the big companies which were listed on different slides. You have also a lot of small companies working with internet, with the web, and providing you a lot of things. Everything could be supplied by internet now, and sometimes by middle-sized or small companies, we just don't care about what we talk to them.
Understood. Good. Agnieszka, would you like to comment on this from your perspective and your relationship with your suppliers? No? Okay. In that case, Julia, if you could just bring back the last slide, or the second but last slide, and it remains to just explain that again. PEFC certification is here to deliver to changing expectation. We have a big one on our hands with the EUDR, but it's not just about the EUDR. There's also so many things around deforestation. We aim to be remaining relevant and part of the solution and providing scale, connection, and share costs. So really today was a webinar aiming to really show the connections between all our actions at our different levels to help safeguard forest. I would like to say a big thank you to Michelle, Anna, and Agnieszka, our three speakers, for sharing your experience, sharing your insights and expertise. I would like to say thank you to the audience. We will share the recording and the key takeaways. And if you have questions, you can see a couple of our emails here in front of you. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.